We'll start, inshallah. Okay. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala, amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Walaikum salam.
So, brothers and sisters, welcome to our third seminar. These seminars are designed to get you to prepare you almost mentally, emotionally, and spiritually for Hajj. Each seminar or the lecture we have different people with different level of expertise, and they bring a different perspective to Hajj, and they focus on a particular area. These are all designed to enhance your experience and to increase your knowledge about Hajj, so that once you're over there, you're fully prepared, like I said, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually to complete the Hajj. This seminar, like all our seminars, will be recorded, and inshallah, if you're unable to make the live seminar, it will be recorded and uploaded onto our portal, which is, you can get that on hunafa.com. Click on the learning portal. Now, on the portal itself, it has everything you need to know about Hajj from A to Z, including these lectures will be uploaded as well. The portal is designed in a certain way, particularly the breaking down the Umrah. It's broken down into bite-sized videos, and you can watch these videos at your own time, at your own pace, and it will just pick up from the place that you left off. And also, in addition to the learning portal, we also have a guide which is available in Amazon.com, which is called the Pilgrimage Guide by Hunafa Travels. If you search that, you'll be able to find that. So that guide is also available. The seminar is open to everyone, not just the pilgrims who are going on Hajj with us. So if I can ask, brothers and sisters, if you can refrain from asking any questions related to your package or related to the logistics, because purely because if we answer these questions, because there's people from various packages, they will get slightly confused. So hence why we don't want to answer any questions relating to the package in the seminar. If you have a question, you are on the WhatsApp group. Please ask the question in the WhatsApp group and we'll answer there. And also the guides have most probably have been in contact with you, or you've got their numbers. If you want to ask them a question, then please feel free to message them as well. Now, the question of Hadi, which we bring up in every seminar, this is not to sell the Hadi to you, but it's just for practicality. We want to make sure that people have secured their Hadi, and particularly who have they booked the Hadi with, and the consequences that will have on the day. Now, when I say consequences, it's a bit of a strong word, but what I mean is you're going to be on your ihram for almost 2 days. And on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, you would want to come out of your ihram quickly. And the only way you want to come out of that is to know when your qurbani has happened, when your hadi has happened. And if you did it with us, we would know immediately, because we're dealing with a local supplier, and we'll be able to tell you straight away that the qurbani has been done, and you'll be able to come out of ihram. Now, if you did it with somebody else, particularly with nusuk, their process is a little bit unclear at the moment, but most likely, I'm sure they won't be contacting you directly, or they won't be sending you a message directly. It will be most likely via an email, and that could delay the process a little bit. So, whereas the people who have done it with us, they may know immediately. If you've done it with nusuk, there might be a slight delay, so it may take a little bit longer for you to come out of ihram. So just want to clarify, but whatever the process is with nusuk, the more we find out, the more we will let you know. Now, today's seminar, it's about the Tawaf, and Sister Lisa is going to go through practical tips on how to do the Tawaf. Now, as I said, we're bringing different people each day to give us different perspective. Tomorrow we will have a GP who used to be a GP here with the NHS. He's also gone on tour with us, and he's now currently based in Medina, and that's purely focusing on the medical aspect of it. Today is about the Tawaf and to get the best out of while you're doing the Tawaf, and what are the tips and what are the wisdoms and what are the best practical way of doing the Tawaf. So if you can refrain from asking questions regarding fiqh questions, which we will not go over, you will have other opportunities to do that if we can just focus on the topic that is today. And today we have with us Sister Lisa, who has volunteered to share her experience, her recent experience in Umrah, particularly around Tawaf. Now, Sister Lisa works for a local authority, and she's also the founder of Mikhail Foundation, which the charity focuses on stillbirth and trauma for mothers who's gone through the stillbirth and that process. She's also recently done a TED talk on, again, dealing with traumas, and she also owns her own business, which is called Serendipity. So if you have anything relating to gifting, and if you run out of ideas of how to purchase a gift or give someone a gift, then please go to Serendipity, and Sister Lisa will be able to help you out. So without any further ado, if I can give the floor to Sister Lisa.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Said Bhai, thank you very much for inviting me on here and asking me to share my recent experience when I went to Umrah. Before I start, I need to apologize to you guys, to everybody on the call. You will hear some twittering in the background. It's my birds and I can't shut them up. So for some reason, when I'm on a call on Zoom or on Teams, they like to start singing at that point. So, okay. So first of all, I just wanted to say that I understand that many of us are on different phases of life in terms of why we would want to go on pilgrimage. Either you've booked yourself on or you're thinking of booking yourself on. My experience was not like any of yours, I don't think. I was not planning on going to Umrah because I did not feel like I was worthy of going. And the reason for that is because of a number of things that I've had to go through over the last couple of years. And in particular, what Saeed Bhai just mentioned, having a stillbirth in May of 2020. Having a loss, whether it's a pregnancy loss in the early stages or towards the end, it does take a big toll on mothers, on the entire family. And I was going through all of that when my uncle asked me if I would like to go to Umrah, and my response was exactly that. I don't think I'm worthy. But 2 months later, when I was thinking of needing to escape life in the UK, because it was nearly May, and Mikhail was born on the 25th of May. And I felt like I had to just go away and just have some time to myself. And as I was looking at flights, I came across one of my destinations on my bucket list, which was Kenya. And when I looked at it, I was shocked at how cheap the flights were. And the reason for that was because there was a long wait somewhere in between. Little did I know it was Jeddah, and I called Saeed Bhai straight away, asking him if I'm going on a solo trip and I'm stopping at Jeddah, and he knows what my circumstances are, if that will be excusable. And he was kind enough to speak to a sheikh and explain to me what the need was for a woman to have a mahram with her. And the sheikh kindly explained how a woman, when she arrives in Mecca, she can be with her brother, she can be with her husband or her father, and they could be in the hotel room And all it would take for her was to go downstairs to the haram and do her umrah. She does not need her mahram at that point. And based on that, he gave me my fatwa and I booked that flight. Now, I know we're all here not to hear about my story, but it was the most exhilarating experience that I have ever experienced. And based on how it happened, I felt very, very worthy. And Saeed Bhai has been a source of all wisdom when it came to booking an impromptu visit to Mecca. And he recommended something that you probably already have or already thinking of purchasing. He recommended this. Oops, if you can see this. And this was my guide. In fact, this was a gift from Saeed Bhai himself. And one of the things that I have been sharing with people since I have come back from Umrah is something that Saeed Bhai said to me, and I took it very literally. He said to me, Lisa, it's really easy to fall into the trap of saying certain surahs, reciting certain du'as, other than the mandatory ones that are obviously necessary to perform the tawaf. But when you've got that time to make your own du'as, would you rather not speak to Allah in the language that you can speak and make dua saying the things that are close to your heart rather than making dua by simply reciting surahs that we may or may not know the full interpretation of? And I took that literally. And on my way to Mecca, I listed 7 themes of things that I would like to speak to God about. And that's exactly what I did. So while I was doing my tawaf, because I knew in which order I was going to do this in, it was very easy for me to remember how many times I've done my tawaf, because that's one of the most stressful times, I think, when you're performing your umrah or your hajj, remembering how many times you've gone round. And for me, because I already had a list of things that I was going to speak to Allah about, I already knew, yes, there are certain things that we can speak about when we're on our prayer mats. Most of the time, those are the same things that we speak to Him when we feel physically close to Him. I don't know how, but I felt physically close, emotionally the closest that I ever felt with, to Allah. And I think one of the most amazing experiences was by the time I did my tawaf, performed my umrah, went back to my room, I did feel, I don't know, I felt very blessed. And when I performed the Bidayah Tawaf the following day, I made the same du'as as I did during my umrah. And I added one more thing. Now, I know that we may or may not be going through many, many different things in this dunya. But one of the things that was hurting me a lot over the last few years was my relationship with my children. And even though I asked Allah to protect them, protect me from external influences, one of the things that I added to that last day of my tawaf, on my Bidayah Tawaf, was I'm really silly. And I said this, I was like, and the way I was having these conversations felt like I was talking to a friend, you know, and it was, here I was saying the same things as I did the previous day. And out of the blue, I just had what you call a light bulb moment. And I said, I am really silly. Here I am asking you to protect me and my children and allow us to have a relationship like we used to, and stop external forces from influencing us and me and them. When all I need to do is help help myself, basically. So I started thinking, I guess it's kind of like, I don't know if any of you are familiar with, Aladdin's lamp, for example. And I'm laughing now, but it felt pretty serious at the time. When you know you've got limited amount of wishes, and when you've watched certain cartoons and read certain books, and you know that to entertain us, writers and authors, they make this genie, or whatever it is, as we're granting a wish. It makes us realize that there's little loopholes, right? So while I'm there doing my Bidayat Tawaf, I thought, hold up, here I am asking Allah to protect me and my children and give us certain things. But what if there are loopholes that, he can turn around and say, well, I gave you what you wanted, right? And that's when I realized that I can ask him to show me certain things. And subhanAllah, by the time I left, I did my tawaf, went back to the hotel room and picked up my bags to head to the station to get myself to Medina. I received a notification on my phone, and it was exactly what I asked him to show me. And I asked him to show me what is being said to my children about me to make them hate me. And it was all in black and white on my phone within 20 minutes. I'm not saying what you wish for is going to, happen and be granted straight away. Have sabr. But from someone who believed, and I mean truly, truly believed, I was not worthy of visiting Mecca and experiencing things that people have been pining for years and years. I didn't think I was allowed to just turn up and have that. So that's one of the things that I wanted to share with you today, and I think that's probably the main reason why Said Bhai asked me to come, because he was very much he was wowed by the story, given how he knew everything that I had been through in the last few years. Some of the other tips I would like to share is, and we say this because we see these things on TV, we see it with our own eyes, and we say, oh, that won't be me. But it's really easy to fall into the traps that this life gives us. And what I'm talking about is our phones. It was very, very painful to watch people doing their tawaf while being on Facebook Live, while live streaming, while having other people on WhatsApp video call. And my only sort of ask of you would be, please try and refrain from doing that and put your heart and soul into the du'as that you read at each four corners of the Kaaba, put your heart and soul into your conversation that you have with Allah during your time during the Tawaf, and stay vigilant when it comes to your personal items. I did take a very one of those drawstring bags that was on my shoulder. I didn't carry anything with me other than my hotel card and my mobile phone in my bag. But what I have heard is there are a lot of pickpockets, and I did not want to believe that, considering where we were, and I just found it very difficult to believe that people who are for people who have gone to perform their pilgrimage are targets for others in the area. So just be mindful about pickpockets. Take as little as you can when you go down to the Haram. And that's it, really, I think. Did anyone have any questions around tips or any advice other than the Islamic stance?
I will start off with a question, inshallah. Was there anything that you did around planning? How did you plan your Tawaf?
Well, first of all, reading and rereading and going through everything from page 13. Because as I said, I was not mentally prepared for performing Umrah. I was not mentally prepared. I mean, it wasn't something that I had thought about. So it was reading and rereading a lot of what's in this guidebook. I also sat through the videos that Hunafa Travels provide, and again, it explained everything as much as I needed to understand. And as I said, I think the most important thing for me was those 7 themes of conversations that I wanted to have with Allah while I was doing my Umrah. Some of the other things that I did do was when I went to my hotel room, a brother from work suggested to me that, Lisa, as soon as you go in, switch on the TV and put it on the live view, basically, of the Kaaba. And he mentioned that that's the best way to know when it's busy and when there's less people in there, so that you can have some space. I know all our wishes, we all wish that we can go and touch the Black Stone. I haven't been lucky enough to go and touch the Black Stone, but I feel like I've had a very fulfilling Umrah experience. So one of the other things was I realized during my Umrah that my time having those conversations with Allah was sometimes very short during the Tawaf. And the reason why they were short was because, as you can see, there weren't many people when I went, which meant that the circle was very small. And that's when I realized, okay, when I do my Bidayat Tawaf, I want to come when it's the busiest, because I want to have the longest conversations during my Tawaf with Allah. And what else did I plan? So did you ask about the Tawaf or the whole trip, Saidbay?
More around Tawaf and the conversations. Did you theme? You said you themed it.
Yes.
But did you plan? Did you forget anything, or how?
I didn't forget. And the reason why I didn't forget was because there were. If you theme things, it's really easy to sort of group certain things together. So I mean, I'm happy to share a few of the themes. So the first one was forgiveness, and I asked him to forgive me, and my children, my family, my parents, relatives who are dead and alive, and it was just easy to theme forgiveness. The second thing was, he is our protector, and I asked him to protect me and my children and everything that came with the word protection. I asked him to give me the strength and the means to take Mikhail Foundation on a level that goes beyond what I imagined it to be, and to try and help me think outside the box, because I did not want to be another charity, another Muslim charity, another person asking for funds, so I wanted, so I've asked him to help me to elevate Mikhail Foundation to a certain state, basically. Another one was around income and allowing me to sort of be in the right job that's right for myself, my family, that does more good for the Ummah, something that keeps me away from anything negative. And that was the whole conversation. And it was, you can branch off from that, in terms of like, give me a good job, allow me to succeed professionally. And you can have that conversation, and as I said, it can branch off to many, many different things. You can ask for the same thing for your children, for your siblings. One of the other things was to allow me to have a good death, and that was one whole tawaf in itself. I've asked him to give me a nice death. Another one was, again, it was one tawaf in itself, was allow the questioning of my grave to be easy. And I did not think I would be as emotional as I was when I was asking him for those things and having those conversations with him around those things, because, as I said, I didn't see myself as a religious person. I'm spiritual, but my salah wasn't on time. So everything that I asked him for, it kind of got me back to how do I better myself. So when I asked him for forgiveness, I asked him to forgive me for not performing my salah and to allow me to continue with my salah when I get back. Same thing for my children. And the final one, if I remember correctly now, was allow me to enter Jannatul Firdaus, allow me to see my child, and everyone who has gone ahead of us. And yes, so, and with that came everybody else that I love. So, so when I asked it for me, I asked him for the same for my brother, for my sisters, my parents, relatives dead and alive. So that was the order that I went through when it came to my conversations, and it was easy for me to remember it because I think, to me, it's in some sort of order, so yeah, so that was it.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. There are some questions on the chat.
Yeah.
I think they're mainly around the fiqh questions. So if I can ask brothers and sisters, the questions that you have on there, if you can just hold on when we do the fiqh of Hajj, we can ask the Sheikh about some of these questions, and then we should be able to get the answers for those. If there are anything else relating to Muaz and Sister Lisa's experience, please ask on the chat, or if you want to ask come unmute yourself and ask a question, then please do so.
And I just wanted to sort of say that advice around choosing the 7 themes for your 7 rounds of Tawaf, that's one of the things that I've actually been sharing a lot with people since I've come back. And that's probably one of the best advice that I was given. Thank you, Said Bhai. And probably the best advice that you all can share with others as well. So.
One on the chat says, are there any tips?
Practical tips for Tawaf. Well, I mean, I guess if you have little ones, you probably would want your Tawaf to be shorter in terms of time. But as I said, I found that I wanted to pour my heart out to Allah, and that's why I decided, actually, I don't want to go when it was quiet, because it took less time. I think it took about 20 minutes to do my, the Tawaf for my Umrah, which I was expecting it to be a bit longer. But I went as slow as I could because I needed to finish what I was talking to him about, So in terms of tips, if you have more to say, just stay on the outside. Make your Tawaf a bit longer. I did have issues with wanting to go to the loo. In order to go to the loo, I was advised to go outside, and it was just, it was going to take me forever. And I probably shouldn't be saying this, but if you do, I mean, I've had to do this because it just felt like it was going to take me forever to come out and do my wudu again. But there are so many water fountains, there are so many sort of areas that are very secluded within the haram. Obviously, it depends on what days you go, what day and what time you go. But I was able to do my wudu in those areas instead of going too far out. Yes, I did take a dua list with me. I've actually got the book upstairs, but what I ended up doing was I actually had a book with me rather than a list. I'm assuming you meant dua list. The others have asked you, sorry, Sister Mahnaz. So obviously, when we go on pilgrimage, people do ask us to make dua for them, and sometimes they're very specific. After I did my my tawaf and I sat down, that's when I got the book out for people that had people's duas in, and the list of duas that people asked me to sort of say on their behalf. Rabia Ali, what times did you find it best to do your tawaf? So okay, so when I went, as I said, it was a solo trip, and women obviously do not need to, we're not in ihram. And I think because of that, another advice that that was given to me by Saeed Bhai was, don't rush it. So when I checked into the hotel, I actually relaxed. I relaxed, had a good night's sleep, and I went around. Oh, I went just after Jummah prayers. And it was very light, in terms of the crowd after Jummah. I did go back, so this was in May, and when I came back, I felt like there was an addiction to go back and have those conversations again with him, and it as close to the Kaaba as I could. And I needed to go back, and this time I went back with my brother, and so my daughter went, my cousin brother and his daughter went as well. And this time, because there were obviously, I had I had men with me. What had happened is, if we go with men, or if we go, sorry, let me start again. Because I went with my brothers, it then meant that they are now in their ihram, and they are very restricted when it comes to not being able to do other things, and not being able to take their ihram off, and and relax like I did the first time round. So what we ended up doing was we rested for about 2 hours, and then we all got up and went and performed Umrah. And this is around 1 in the morning. It was nicer in the sense that it wasn't, the heat wasn't much, but it did mean that there was a big crowd, which meant that I had more time talking to, having my conversations with Allah when I did my Tawaf. So.
One thing that I want to say and stress, and that's from your experience, Sister Lisa, is that sometimes when people go to do Tawaf and go to do the Hajj rituals, sometimes they focus on the rituals itself. And you hear conversations like, if you do it in the inner court, it will take you 7 minutes. If you did it on the first floor, it will take you 10 minutes or 12 minutes. And people compare these time and the length of the time, which is, I find, quite sad, really, because here you've got an opportunity, and you keep mentioning that you're having a conversation with Allah. And would you want to rush a conversation with the King of Kings, who can give you everything that you want, everything that your heart desires? And why would you want to do that? And why would you want to rush something like that? You want to take your time, and you want to have that deep conversation and let everything in your heart out to Allah. And sometimes people, it's a balance between trying to do it fast. I understand if you've got a medical condition or whatever, but also at the same time having that meaningful conversation.
I totally agree, Said Bhai, and that's why I said that when I did my Tawaf for the Umrah, it felt like it went by too quick. It was too fast. And even though I was sort of, initially I did what everybody does, which is to try and hone in as close to the Kaaba as I possibly could, because I just felt like I want to touch that black stone. And and then you realize that that's what everybody wants. And as small as the crowd was, I still didn't get the chance to touch that. But also what I realized was my conversations with Allah during those 7 themes that I mentioned, it was going way too quick, which is why I decided that when I do my next tawaf, I'd like to stay on the outside of the circle, and do it that way. And that way I will have as much time as I could possibly want. And one of the things that I will say is, you can never, even if it's a theme that I mentioned that you might think, hold on, I don't really think I can talk much about that with him. You'd be surprised. You would be surprised, because in that time, what you end up, or what I ended up doing, was initially I was having an internal dialogue. You can talk to him, and again, it was a tip from Saeed Bhai, actually. Talk to him in English, talk to him in Bangla, it doesn't matter. Talk to him in whichever language you want. Have a conversation with him. And I realized that every time I mentioned something, even if it was the same thing that I said 2 minutes ago, I was emphasizing on different things and different, in a different way. And you can never have enough of that. When I went in October, I realized, we found out the hard way. So we did the Umrah together as a family, with me, my brother, and what happened was, when we went back later to do Tawaf again, the men weren't allowed to go in, because they were told they had to go into the, I don't know what the first floor, basically the first and second floors. So, that's something that you might want to be mindful about, particularly if like me, you think, okay, I'm not going to take my phone out the first time I go, or I'll take my phone out to take some pictures after my tawaf. You might forget that, and if you're a gentleman, for example, what you might think is, oh, I'll come back tomorrow and I'll take some pictures on the ground. You won't be able to, because you won't be allowed in. So it's only people who are performing the umrah and their hajj who are allowed to go into the ground floor, especially men. Women, we have a choice of, after our umrah, and if we do go back to do more tawaf, we have the choice. We can go to into the haram, or we can join our brothers or husband or sons on the first and second floor. So we have that choice, and we will be allowed to go back in, to see the Kaaba, but it would mean that they can't be with us, basically. Okay, so Sister Asma said, I just joined. Can you do a recap of the 7 themes, please? The 7 themes, it could be anything that's close to your heart. I mentioned the 7 themes that I wanted to have a conversation with Allah about. And mine were around forgiveness, around my charity doing well, me improving, in terms of professional and career, income, my children, answering of the graves, and entering Jannatul Firdaus. So those are the 7 themes that I chose for myself. But it could be completely different. Everyone is different. We're all going through different things that we might want to have those conversations around, conversations with Allah about. Okay. So, Sister Naz, so you mentioned women's period time. Can women do ziyarat in Medina and Prophet's Mosque? I would advise you, if you've been invited to do this, I would advise you to just take the tablets that stop your periods. You can buy them over the counter before you leave. My GP surgery did ask me to fill in. So no, I went into the pharmacy and they asked me to fill in this online form, which they review in 2 days. But because my one was an impromptu visit, what I ended up doing was I just bought them over the counter in the pharmacy over there. So I was staying in one of the hotels in the clock tower. There was a pharmacy downstairs. It was as easy as that. You just go and just buy a packet. Anything else?
Brothers and sisters, I know you're asking quite a few fiqh questions. The reason I'm just withholding and not answering those, we will have the opportunity and we will note down your questions. When the Sheikh goes over the rights of Hajj, we can bring those questions up again and we will be able to answer those questions in a bit more detail, inshallah.
So correct me if I'm wrong, I think we are allowed to stop our periods for Hajj as well. I know I've heard of a few people do it, but again, I'll let Said Bhai answer that.
Yeah. Again, I'll ask that question when the Sheikh has the rights of the Hajj.
Yeah.
There's always difference. There's always difference of opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Said Bhai, do you have any other questions?
No, and sisters, any questions? Any other questions? We've got 10 more minutes. Yep, I think there's one just popped up.
Okay.
Uh,
That seminars, the portal.
okay, the portal, I know we've been saying that they'll be uploaded onto the portal. There was a slight delay, but the previous two lectures are on there at the moment. This one will be downloaded and inshallah will be uploaded as well. So maybe another question that I can ask Sister Lisa is, while you're in the Mataf area, how you emotionally, did you overcome? How did you feel emotionally while you were there, while you're having the conversation with Allah?
I broke down. I broke down many times, and then you feel fine again, and you're having a normal conversation internally. And this is something that I was going to say before. What started off with an internal dialogue, I then started whispering. I then started using my lips to actually say the words that I was saying when I was having those conversations, and it is very emotional because you feel like you're pouring your heart out. And as much as I have been doing that since I've lost Mikhail, for example, nothing can compare to the tears that were running down my cheeks there, while I was performing the my umrah. There's someone asking additional tips for going with elderly parents. So they actually, so one of the things that I saw, so my cousin brother, he had injured his knee many years back. So he was having trouble sort of walking on the first floor because it was a lot of walking during his tawaf every time we've gone back after the umrah. So one of the things that he did was he bought a chair. There are chairs inside the mosques, inside the mosque as well. There are, and I'm pretty sure I saw wheelchair, like you can rent out wheelchairs as well. And obviously you've got other, help for elderly parents to do their umrah and hajj. Okay. I think for the first time, Saiba, you're probably like not going to go over.
No. It's only for an hour. It's only a few more minutes left. One thing that brothers and sisters that I want to stress is that, and the Sheikh was saying it yesterday as well, is when the opportunity comes for you to make dua. So for example, when you're doing the sa'i in between Safa and Marwa, you've got to do the duas. In Arafat, you've got to do your duas. In Muzdalifah, just after you prayed Fajr and before the sunrise, you're making your duas. And also when you're stoning on the 11th, 12th, and the 13th, after you stone, you face the Qibla and you make the duas. I cannot stress, I know that we take it, some of these rites literally, and we just want to, it's like a tick box exercise for some people, but these are specific points which the Prophet has mentioned, and you should take your time. I know at Hajj you might be ushered on, but if you're not being ushered on, brothers and sisters, just take your time, make sure you have your du'as list and you take your time and you make those du'as sincerely to Allah. Because it's not about just the ritual. You're forgetting the bigger picture that Allah has invited you there. Nobody goes there without any invitation. You are special. You are a guest of Allah. And what you don't want to do is get bogged down to the tick box exercise. You want to take your time, use that opportunity, and really have that meaningful conversation with Allah. So there's a question there from Brother Abul Hussein. Can they structure their priorities in their order? Number one, seeking forgiveness from Allah, being surrounded by people practicing Islam on their return, family and the Ummah matters, work commitments, accumulating wealth, health, engaging in both Islamic and general education, and asking for Jannah.
I think that's beautiful. And as I said, it is, if those are your priorities, those are your priorities. And I'm sure many of them will resonate with most of us. But again, each one of those things can branch off to many, many other things that we would want to have, we would want to include in our conversations with Allah. So it's this is perfect. Yeah, and from things that I've mentioned, there are some overlaps as well. So you know, perfect.
Dua list.
So this book that I mentioned, I don't know if this is part of your packages either, but this book. Sorry, I'm trying to. Goodness me. Okay, I hope you can see it now. Okay, so this book, it has a lot of du'as in there. It's got all the du'as that you need to do in order, from making the intention, from setting off from home, to du'as to read on the plane, to when you're entering, when you're going into Mecca. It has everything in order. All you do is just flip the page and go to the next one. So it's as easy as that. There's also a section in this guidebook that has extra du'as as well. But as Saiba mentioned, it's, sometimes a lot of us can be bogged down with, oh, I would like to read this dua and this surah, and but as much as you can, yes, do so, but also have that. I mean, for some of us, it might be a once in a lifetime opportunity to go there. Have that conversation with Allah, pour your heart out, have some quiet time. I felt like even after my umrah was finished, I felt this need to go back and sit there in front of the Kaaba, which I did. Salah is one thing, and when you're praying on the salah mat, it's completely different to having those conversations with Allah. Ask Him for what you want. And sometimes it's not even about wanting something, it's about appreciating Him. Most of the things that, one of the things that I realized the first time I went in May was, well, so I went there and then I flew straight off to Nairobi, and I stayed with a Christian family who had an orphanage, and I explained to them why I had Zamzam water with me and what it was, and and obviously explaining how what Umrah is. But even then, but staying with them for as long as I did, it felt like I was actually short of appreciation for Allah. So when I went back the second time, I made sure that, in my conversations, I included things like, I appreciate all the hardships that you've got, that you've put me through. I appreciate how you've brought me out of that. And most of the time I actually did, specify certain things. And it was only because of I stayed with a pastor and his wife, and volunteered at their orphanage. And one of the things that, put me to shame was, the giving thanks that Christians do. Yes, we read our salah. Yes, we say, read du'as, and we recite surahs, and we read the Quran. But how many of us actually sit there and say thanks to Allah for certain things? And that time in Kenya sort of shifted my mindset as well. So when I got back, I mean, even now, sometimes when I have a hard day in the office and I come back and I'm exhausted, I actually remember to thank Allah for bringing me home safe and sound, because it was something that the pastor's wife, when during dinner, when they'd give thanks, to God for a good day at the orphanage, for allowing the children to eat that day, for all of those things. I realized I wasn't doing that. Yes, we say our du'as, before we eat. We say our du'as before we drink water. We say our du'as before we leave home. We say our du'as when we're entering the house. But those are just, I don't know about you, but to me, those were just words. They were just du'as that, so when you're using your own language to thank God, to thank Allah for bringing you home. I've had, when my daughter's gone on a trip and she's come back, I found myself saying, Allah, thank you for bringing her in one piece and safe and sound. And it's those kind of things that I think we miss as Muslims, because we are really bogged down on surahs and du'as that have been written, basically. So don't forget to have those conversations, and don't forget to be grateful and show your gratitude. And it's not just about asking for things, it is also about giving thanks for all the good and the bad, because we are here, right now, we are where we are right now because of all of that, for all the good and the bad.
Jazakallah khair. Any questions anymore? Somebody wanted to ask a question? There's a question there which says, will there be a lesson explaining exactly the du'as we need during each stage of the Hajj? So, sister, we're going to have one of the seminars is going to be about how to do the Hajj, and the Sheikh will go through each of those stages, inshallah. So